Hello everyone, welcome to the amazing journey to higher study abroad. If you have queries about how to get admission with scholarship in universities in US, Canada, Australia, Europe and Asia, you're in the right place. In this video, we'll guide you starting from scratch to reaching the destination. So, suppose you just graduated and you want to do your master's or PhD or MBA from a reputed university in a reputed country. And the main hurdle in this whole journey is basically not just the information lag, but also the inspiration lag. What I'm saying here is it's always better to ask the question why before you ask the question how. So before giving you the answer of how to make a jump from here to here, we'll urge you to ask yourself the question that why you want to go to study abroad. Because the answer of this why will motivate you or drive you to reach from your starting point to your destination. Now, there are several reasons why one person wants to go to study abroad. It might be for better education or better research or better job opportunity or better living standard if someone plans to live there, or for someone who is not planning to settle outside. It's always good to bring the state-of-the-art research which is happening outside back to your country, and someone who goes back to the country can always create jobs for more people and educate the people and so on. Now, going back to the point where we were saying that it's always important to ask why before how. So in this video, on the top left corner, you can see this thing called the motivation meter. Whenever you are feeling down, that you have drained too much energy in studying for GRE, or you're getting through some problem while getting the recommendation from professors, I know those phases are pretty frustrating. You have to always come back and check that your motivation meter is high enough, because that's the only thing which will bring you from this point through this point. So in the long run, either if you want to work in academia or corporation or for a bigger purpose, this motivation meter will work as a game changer for your success. Well, looks like we are motivated enough for today. As we already have the bigger vision, we can always focus on the shorter goals which we can achieve easily. Now, we were in this point that we just graduated. I just gave this point as just graduated. You might be still studying in your undergrad, maybe you might be still freshman or junior or senior. Whatever you are, we are assuming that all of you guys are falling in this category, that you just graduated or you'll be graduating pretty soon enough. And you want to go to this point that you want to do your master's or PhD or MBA from a reputed university abroad. Now, for your convenience, we have divided the whole journey into 4 steps, and our journey starts with the first step, which is called the test preparation step. Now, what is this test? As we have heard probably from some of our friends that they're giving GRE or TOEFL and these kinds of exams. So what are these things? If you are graduating with your undergrad, then you probably will have a degree certificate. So if you already have the certificate, what is the problem of directly getting into the school for doing your postgraduate studies? Here I want to mention that in many countries, the universities are named as schools. So you're basically you're finishing probably your undergrad from a university, but then again you're coming and doing your master's or PhD from a school. So you already have a certificate of your degree, and you want to do your postgrad studies. So why can't you just get admission to the school directly? Thing is that you are applying, and many people from your university is applying, many people from your country is applying, and basically thousands of students from all over the world are applying to a single school, and that school is getting a bunch of applications, but they cannot admit probably only few students, suppose say 50 students. So how will they filter all the students and take only the best proven ones? And not to mention that as all the students are applying from different countries, all these countries have different education system, different grading system, and for that reason, the CGPA or the grading might be different and varying in country to country or university to university. So for making the filter process easier, countries like US, they made these tests which will test your aptitude or your critical thinking ability, which will help them to differentiate you from the other guys. They have named this test as a standardized test because these tests are designed to make a standard of this judging process. And so basically there are two standardized tests. One of them is most famous, which is GRE, which is mainly for masters or PhD, and GMAT is another standardized test for MBA. One more thing is that all these tests are country dependent. So one country might need GRE or GMAT for their admission, another country might not. So as this video is just to give an overall idea, we'll be just discussing superficially on all the topics. And these two exams, TOEFL and IELTS, they are to prove your English proficiency. That means if you are coming from a country where English is not spoken as the first language, you have to give this test, TOEFL or IELTS, to go to a country where the English is spoken as a first language. So in this step one, you have to start preparing for these tests, which takes, some of them takes 3-4 months time, and go through some study plans, and then finally you'll get a decent score which will be helping you in your next steps. So the next step is called the selection process. Now as you all know that there are so many country options to go to. You have US, you have Canada, you have Australia, you have a lot of countries in Europe, and you have many countries in Asia as well. All these countries have pros and cons of their own. Some has good immigration options, some are good in some kind of specific research, and some are good for getting funding or etc. So selecting country is a very important step where you need to sort out which country you want to go to by a set of selection criterias. And the similar thing is that selecting universities. Suppose you have selected your country, suppose you have selected US. Now the thing is that only US has 500, at least 500 universities where you can get admission to. So all these universities, which is a huge lot of universities, you cannot apply to 500 universities. You probably are going to apply to 10 to 15 universities. So that huge pool of universities needs to be sorted out through some kind of criteria. Either that be the university ranking or the quality of education, quality of research, or the job prospect in the city of the university you are going to, or the international exposure that university has. So you have to go through all these filters before selecting a university. And then finally comes selecting your degree, which is that do you want to do your master's or PhD, or do you want to do your master's by thesis or non-thesis, or do you want to go to MBA, and all these kinds of options. So applying all these filters in all this selection process, you have to filter few universities and few degrees to apply to. And once you have done that, you can probably proceed to the next step, which is called apply. So in the application step, what you are doing is applying, which is the most fun step. You are basically moving towards your goal. So in this whole journey of studying abroad, there is this one entity, the villain, who will create the obstruction on your path. So that person or that entity is called the university admissions. We are calling it the villain. So the university admission committee is a committee which consists of people whose job is to filter out people from these thousands of pools of applicants. So what they do is that they have set a lot of selection criteria by which they can pick the best out of them. So assuming that you have already given the tests required, suppose you have given GRE and TOEFL, so you send this test scores to this admission office. That's one thing. You already have your academic certificate or your degree certificate or your transcript. And so one more thing you have to submit is the statement of purpose. Now, the statement of purpose is a written letter where you say to the university that why do you want to go to that university and why did you select that degree, and how does the university's educational quality and research matches with your interest. One more thing is a recommendation letter, which you have to send from your professor or your previous employer, which will say that this person is good and take him or her. So you have selected your university. Basically, you have selected several universities and you have applied to them. And all these universities, admissions office is basically getting a lot of applications from a lot of people, and they're seeing that which person they can take. Now, this whole thing is kind of a matchmaking process. So whoever has a good match with their credentials, with the university's requirements, is getting the admission or scholarship. So we'll be naming the whole process of matchmaking as profile evaluation, where your profile will be evaluated that are you good enough to apply in these kinds of universities and will you get scholarship. As this point came, the point of scholarship or financial aid, for most of the people it's always honorable and also financially healthy to get a scholarship or financial aid for their postgraduate studies. So while selecting the university, you have this one more point called the scholarship opportunities or the funding opportunities, which will also be a determining factor in selecting the university. Now, among all this talk, if you guys miss this small guy standing all these papers, then I want to throw some light on who he is. Now, as you can see that there are a lot of application forms in front of the university admissions committee, and you have also submitted all these credentials you could. Now, this small guy can basically be a game changer for your admission. This small guy is named the professor. So if you are applying for a research-based degree, it's always better to contact a professor whose research interest is matched with your research background. And if the professor finds that your experience is good enough for his research group, then he might be just recommending you to the university admission. So basically, contacting a professor has a huge impact on getting admission and especially getting scholarship if you're going for any kind of research-based degree. You'll find all more detail by clicking this option called contacting professors. Now, oh, did I forget to mention that the whole menu here, it's basically clickable. That means you can click in individual items. Like you can, if you want to know about GRE, then you can just click on the GRE. If you have questions about a scholarship, you can click on that. If you have question about how to write a statement of purpose or how to send recommendation letter or how to contact professors, all these small units here are basically clickable. So if you click in any one of these, it will either take you to a video or a web link, so that you can learn more about that thing. So once the whole picture is completed, you'll see that there are so many small things, and this detail might be a little bit confusing in the beginning, but eventually you'll find this menu very helpful just to go to all these directions just from one menu. So as this menu is so powerful, we'll be naming is super menu. So this probably you'll have to contact this super menu all this time. So the next step is applying for visa. Assuming that you have applied to the university with all your credentials and you have been selected for admission with probably some kind of scholarship, and the university have sent you the admission letter. So with that admission letter, you have to schedule a visa interview. And if you are not supported fully by the university, then you have to, or if you are partially supported by the university, you have to show a financial document, which where you say that you are strong enough to support you financially. And with all these documents, you go to the visa office, and after your visa is got accepted, you can start packing your luggage, with books and warm or cold clothing depending on which country you are going to. And after all your backpacking is done, you can start looking for traveling tickets, another guideline like what kind of goods are permitted to carry on airplane and etc. So once you come to a foreign country, there are a bunch of new options or new questions which will come into your mind, like how will the accommodation be, what's the rent, where can we, should we live on campus or off campus, and what are the shortcut cooking tips, and what kind of transportation should we use, should we go by bus or do we need to take a driver's license. And not to mention that you'll have a bunch of more opportunities to have fun. What are the recreation options, where can you go for traveling, what kind of sports there are to play. Not to mention that as you are a student and you will have less money, so you need cheap options to manage your finances. So when you're doing your postgrad studies, you can always take extra courses or extra projects which will basically increase your knowledge, which will make you technically sound, or you can join in different kind of leadership clubs which will connect you to a lot of people and improve your communication skills and abilities. And the coursework pattern might be different from the country you come from, so you might need some help and tips for while you are studying some course. So you have reached your short-term goal, which is to do your master's or PhD or MBA, but that probably is not your end point. Your initial vision was to go to academia or corporation or etc. Now, if you see on the bottom right corner this hourglass, this means time, means the whole journey to higher study abroad is basically a battle with time. So if you are planning to apply for a fall intake, here if I might mention, there are two intakes usually. One is fall intake, another one is spring intake. The fall starts from August and the spring starts from January. Although these intakes differ from country to country, but usually there is more scholarship or more funding opportunities if you apply for the fall intake. Now, suppose if you are planning for the fall intake, you basically need to start preparing for this whole admission process 1 year before you start the semester. That means if you are planning for fall 2013, then you should start all your preparations from at least from September 2012, or it's better if you can start earlier. To always remember that the fight is with time. So you need to check the timeline, that when it's the best time to start preparing for GRE, apply to a university and all these kinds of stuff. You can find all these suggestions by clicking to this link. Finally, I'll end my discussion by looking at this picture. There is one guy on red who is standing on a higher ground. This red guy is the guy who is in academia or corporation, or who are successful people in their life, who have crossed all these hurdles which we have discussed so far. The whole journey of higher studies is a very hard process, and whoever has went through this process are empathetic to the aspirants who are willing to go through this journey. So it is a duty and it is natural for a person who is standing above to help and pull the other people. We are altruists who are staying abroad, and we want to help aspirants to cross all these hurdles and motivate them throughout the process, so that when they come here, when they themselves become the red guy, they can pull the community with them. And this process should go as a chain reaction. Lots of heavy words for one day. Remember that this whole video is a super menu, so you can just come anytime you want, and you can just click in any of the links which will direct you to answers to specific questions. So for today I sign out. Hopefully see you guys pretty soon.
This is an interactive video. Please click on any of the following tabs.